you guys, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Grace. If you're returning, welcome back. I am so excited about this video and more to come because I know this is probably going to end up being a series because we have not found our home yet. Spoilers. But we are house hunting. We just moved across the country and we have begun the house hunting search. I know that it's such a privilege and we are so excited to even have the opportunity to buy a house. We've always previously rented. But this is not going to be a house hunting journey of $1 million homes. There's going to be no sauna or indoor swimming pool or cinema room or anything like that. This is going to be very humble, I guess. Our price range is going to be between $250,000 and $300,000. And I know a few years ago that would have been like a pretty nice house, but in today's market, in this area, that's kind of bottom of the barrel starter home kind of prices. And so if that rings a bell for you, if you enjoy watching videos like that, I do, because I can actually relate to that, then I hope that you will consider watching the whole thing and subscribing and coming back for future ones. I think that's all that I have to say. This is gonna be fun. Yeah, let's look at some houses, you guys. Okay, so this first house we actually really liked. We loved the kitchen, but overall the house felt pretty small. We loved the fireplace. That's one of our things that we really, really hope to have. But again, the overall home, we felt the way it was just laid out, we kind of felt like we would feel like we're outgrowing it pretty quickly, but the rooms were fine sizes. It didn't have a garage, which is not a deal breaker because in this area a lot of homes don't have garages, but it is something that we would really desire. So that kind of took some points off, and it was off a relatively big road. The backyard was really cool. We loved the trees, but ultimately this one was cut off pretty quick. Let me paint a picture for this next house. The word is grime. The videos do not look that gross, but it just felt slimy in there. It was kind of evident that it must have been a rental before, and not that there's anything bad about buying a rental, but like you can just, some people don't take as good of care, but it just felt gross, and it didn't feel like the sellers cared. There's so many like unfinished and nasty little things about it, so it was very, very quickly a no. There were some really nice things about it, like the upper balcony, but we called it the frat house because it just felt like a bunch of smelly college-age guys were living in it. And it was in a crappy location in this neighborhood too, so that was a heck to the no. Now this next home, if we had had extra money to be able to put into a home, this could have been awesome. It was quite large, way larger than anything else we were looking at the time. And it had some really cool details. We loved these beams, but it needed major updating. Look at these ovens from like the 1970s when it was built. But it wasn't even just aesthetic updates. It was like it needed updates, you know, and a lot of the carpets were gross. And so we are just not in a financial place to be able to put a bunch of money into a house. Yeah, look at these bathrooms. So if you had extra money, this could actually be a really, really cool home. And then the back deck was falling apart. So that would be like a lot of money. This one was a pretty quick no. One of our absolute most important things is a backyard, and a good backyard because of our dogs and our kids. And you'll see at the end, this doesn't have a great backyard. And we just didn't like the vibe. I mean, some houses you walk right in and you're like, nope, this is not my house. And so it was a perfectly fine house. It was actually in a pretty good location, but it was not for us, and that is okay. But yeah. This next one was much of the same vibes. Like, it was a perfectly fine house and it would be great for someone. We did like the backyard, it was pretty nice, but it just wasn't for us. It wasn't our house. We didn't feel connected to it. So this one was a pretty quick no-go for us. But we're still glad that we're looking at some like this because we're learning every single time that we see a new house. So this next house, we actually liked a lot of elements, and if it wasn't for one glaring detail, we probably would have really considered this one. It was a great size and a lot of really nice details. But the problem is there's literally no backyard. You'll see at the end, it's just a deck that like overlooks a giant hill. So if you don't have kids or pets, it could be a really cool house. It had really nice finishes and some character and stuff like that, but it was an absolute no-go for us once we saw this. Now, this next one was another one that just felt like it was probably previously a rental. And so there were just a lot of things. The backyard was awesome, but the fence was in terrible condition. And there were just things around the house that just looked like broken and not cared for. So this would be another one that you'd probably have to put a decent amount of money. It's not like super crazy dated, but like there were just things that didn't look like they were in great shape. So you might end up having to fix a lot in the coming months or years, and we didn't like it enough to consider it. It also did not have a great master bath, and it's not a deal breaker, but it is something that I deeply, deeply desire. So if it takes a lot of points off if it doesn't have a nice master bath, for me at least. Now, these next two homes we absolutely loved. This one we actually returned to weeks later and were honestly really considering putting in an offer, and then it went under contract. So didn't happen, but it was a custom built home and there were so many details that just added so much character. The windows were a little foggy, but beautiful layout. The master was huge. The master bath was beautiful and the backyard was awesome. And so I think we could have been really happy here, but it just wasn't the house for us. But this was definitely a favorite. My husband was going to screen that in too. It would have been great. This next home we loved. We went home and came this close to putting in an offer. We decided we didn't love the location enough, but it was a home that when you walked in, you could tell it had been loved and cared for. The master bath was amazing. The kitchen was amazing. The person that lived there had so many plants, which that's very much me and my husband's vibe. So we could like picture ourselves living there. I'm pointing out that we have that exact plant. It was awesome. So much character. How many times am I going to say character? But that is very important. The backyard was awesome. And what you're about to see in a moment is it's amazing. Just right now. It had a greenhouse. But again, the neighborhood was a little not in a great place. So we ended up passing. This next one was out in the country and it was so cute, which is what drew us to it. But it was too small, y'all. It was so small. It felt really small. The layout was weird and it made it feel even smaller. There wasn't really a master room. They were all basically the same size. It didn't have a master bath like at all. It was very clearly done by a flipper, which is not a bad thing, but I've heard horror stories about flippers just like painting over things and like you end up with a lemon. So I would have had to be very confident going into it and it was just too small. I didn't really like the inside much at all. The downstairs like main room was nice, and then the backyard was not fenced, so that would have been expensive, but the backyard was pretty great. And it was out in the country, but it was a no. Well, that does it for today's house hunting video. If you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing and coming on back so you can watch future ones. We will find our house and then we will make it over and it will be fun.